Okay, hello YouTube. This is the Daily Diamond here, and welcome back to MLB 16 The Show. Today we'll be starting the Texas Rangers franchise mode series here on the channel. I thought I'd start a franchise. It's really what I play most of in MLB 16 The Show, even though I've posted Road to the Show and Diamond Dynasty. On my own time, I play mostly franchise, both playing the series and simming them. This will be a play franchise series where we'll be playing the games and following the team, and also being in charge. So we are going to select the Texas Rangers here. I have not done a Texas Rangers franchise, I think, and I've not done one this year. I wanted to pick them because, you know, they're a pretty good team in real life. They've got a good farm system to work with. They have a reasonable budget, reasonable goals, and I thought they would be a nice pick for a 2016 franchise. So we are going to get going and select the Texas Rangers here. We're going to most of the normal settings on designated hitter, regular GM contracts. I will turn those off. I think I want to just stay with the Rangers in this franchise and see how long we can go. Actually, I'll turn them on just to see what happens. And we are going to get going here. So let's take a look at the team and see what we've got. So let's go through the roster. Starting pitchers: Yu Darvish, Cole Hamels, AJ Griffin, Colby Lewis, Derek Holland, and Martin Perez. So I believe that's 6 guys. So one will be left out. I don't know what I'm going to do with AJ Griffin. He's coming off injury and he's 83 overall, so he's pretty nicely rated, and they were generous with him in the OSFM rosters. They also got Kyle Loesch down here, who they signed to a minor league deal. And then let's take a look at some prospects. Chichi Gonzalez, Dylan Tate from last year's number 4 overall pick from last year's draft. And got a couple B potential prospects down here. So pretty decent pitching prospects. Got 3 or 4 to work with. But our big 1-2 punch with Yu Darvish and Cole Hamels. In the bullpen, this is an area that I think I'll work on a little bit. They've got Jake Diekman, Keone Kela, Tom Wilhelmsen, Tollison, who was demoted from the closer role, Cesar Ramos, and Matt Bush, the former number 1 overall pick. So, you know, pretty good young bullpen core, but I think I'll work on that a little bit. They got a couple young guys down here. And then they have Sam Dyson as their closer. So I don't know if I'm going to bring in a closer or use him or use Tollison. We'll see. Catcher, here's another position that would need upgrading on this team. They have Robinson Chirinos, who is injured in real life, but he is in play in this series. Brian Holiday and Brett Nicholas. So nothing special there, just really 3 backup catchers they have, in my opinion, and not a lot of catching prospects. On to first base, they have Prince Fielder, who is really taking a hit in stats in this game and in real life, scuffling. But he will be our everyday DH, and Mitch Moreland, who I am a big fan of. I think he's a really good player. He will be our everyday first baseman. He can also play the outfield, and he's got some pretty decent hitting stats for a left-handed, really probably a platoon player, but nonetheless our starting first baseman. Let's look, and nothing special on the prospects. Got a 21-year-old. Okay, second base, the famous Rougned Odor. He will be our starting second baseman. I like him a lot. He's a really good player. Hanser Alberto, he'll be a backup. And look at down here, Yerksin Profar. Wow, they did not give him very many stats, and he is only a C potential. I remember back in MLB 13 and 14, those games, he was like that big A potential that literally you could go out and get any stud pitcher for in franchise. Every team wanted to trade for him, but he's a C potential, so we'll see how he'll factor into this franchise. Then they've got a 23-year-old B potential prospect, Andy Ibanez, down here, so looking pretty good for second base. On to third base, of course, Adrian Beltre, 91 overall. He will probably be our 3-hole hitter and definitely our starting third baseman. I believe he's a free agent at the end of the season, so we'll have to decide what we do with him at the end of the season. And, of course, Joey Gallo. Where are we going to put him? Maybe a move to first base, maybe a move to the outfield, but he is going to be a stud in the making. Just 22 years old. And they've got actually a nice prospect down here He doesn't really have the hitting stats yet, but he is only 20 years old and a B potential. So we'll keep an eye on that. But so far, looking pretty good around the infield. Shortstop Elvis Andrus here is someone that we're going to have to make a decision on. He is 27 years old. He is signed to a long and expensive extension, 85 overall. His hitting stats are pretty decent, and he's got good fielding and good speed. But do we want to go with Yerkson Profar or somebody else in that spot and get rid of his money? As you see, not a lot of depth here in terms of quality talent. One of them could turn out to be good, but just looking at it now, no A or B potential prospects, so we will see what we do with him. On to left fielder, here he is, the phenom himself, Nomar Mazara. 20-year-old burst on the scene, already an 83 overall with A potential. This kid is going to be the one we build around. Him and Adrian Beltre and Joey Gallo will be the center of this lineup. As you see, he's got around 60 contacts against lefty and righty and around 70 power against lefty and righty. He's got a good arm, good defensive player. He's got decent speed for an outfielder. And here's another decision we'll have to make. Josh Hamilton, injured in real life. I believe he's out for the rest of the season, or maybe most of the rest of the season. 34 years old with a, look at that, $25 million contract. So he might serve as a backup. He's actually got pretty decent fielding stats. He's a pretty good bat off the bench, but I don't know if I want to be paying $25 million for a bench bat. So we'll see what we do with him. They've got a couple other players here. Ryan Rua, he gets some playing time in real life. But Nomar Mazara is our big outfielder. Ian Desmond. I really like Ian Desmond. I was a big fan of him when he was in Washington. I thought they should have signed him, or I thought he should have got a long-term deal. He's a really good player. And he's got pretty decent stats. He'll be our everyday center fielder. Now, with him being the everyday center fielder, we have Delino DeShields Jr. I'll probably use him off the bench. He can also play second base, which is pretty useful. Good speed, decent hitting, just a good small ball player, good player. Drew Stubbs, he'll probably be suited as a bench player on this team. And then we have Lewis Brinson. He's a top prospect. See that? Already good power, pretty decent contact for a 21-year-old. And look at that speed, 79 overall, A potential. He will be a big factor in this franchise in years to come. Now on to right field. Another decision that we're going to have to make. Sin-Soo Choo. He is signed to a large contract. In real life, he doesn't really have a spot to play. He's injured now, but when he comes back, I think this team is playing Mazara. And actually, it's escaping my mind who they're playing. Oh, Mazara, Desmond, and I don't know who else they are playing, but in right field. But Sin-Soo Choo does not have a spot right now, so we will start the year with him in right field. He's got pretty good contact and power against righties, not so great against lefties. Good plate discipline, good fielder. So he's an overall decent player, but I don't know if he's worth this money at 33 years old. So we'll see what we do with him. And Justin Reggiano, he will serve as a right-handed bat. Maybe do a little bit of platooning with Choo. But overall, the outfield is looking pretty good with Choo, Desmond, and Mazara, and that nice prospect of Lewis Brinson here in center field. Let's go on to the budget screen. So as you can see, for 2016, we have a $203 million budget. And at first, when I saw that on the team where you select all the pages, I was like, wow, that has got to be one of the biggest budgets in the league by far, because usually they don't have the accurate budgets on here, but they sort of mirror what they are in real life. But I noticed that they are not too far off from a lot of other teams. Most of the other teams were within maybe 10 to 15 million. A lot of teams were no higher than 220 million, or really no lower than 175 million. So pretty average payroll on this game. We have only 10 million in available funds, so maybe we'll try to shed some contract of either Josh Hamilton or Sin-Soo Choo. And we'll take a look. I love this screen, and here is where the Rangers maybe are in a little bit of a disadvantage towards the other franchises. They have a lot of money committed in the coming years. You see, it is not until 2020 where they have under 70 million committed in money, and still 61 million. That is still a lot of money to have committed. I've played a lot of franchises, a lot of teams, by 2018 they have something like $5 million committed, but the Rangers have 179 million committed this year, 131 million next year, and 177 million in 2018. So we are going to look to shed some money. As you see, Cole Hamels, a big contract. We'll not be shedding him. This is the big one right here. Sin-Soo Choo. That is a lot of money and a lot of years. He's paid out all the way till 2020. I can live with Hamilton because he's done after 2017, but Sin-Soo Choo or Elvis Andrus, that is a lot of money. So we'll see what we do with that, and let's go over to GM goals. We are in year 1, obviously, of our contract. Our yearly goal is to win the division, and our contract goal is to win the World Series. Okay, so we are back, and we have a trade here to get Sin-Soo Choo's money off the book and really fill 2 of our needs to begin the season. So we are going to pull the trigger on this trade with the San Diego Padres. We have Sin-Soo Choo making $16.8 million in this year and for the next 4 or 5 years, and Brian Holiday, one of our backup catchers, a 28-year-old, 72 overall, and we are going to get closing pitcher or relief pitcher Fernando Rodney. It was in the final year of his deal, 81 overall, $2.8 million. Derek Norris, 27 years old, 78 overall, pretty decent stats, especially against lefties. He'll be our starting catcher. He's owed $2.6 million. So I had those 2 in the deal, and then they needed to shed some salary, so we are going to be taking on Jeremy Guthrie's money, $3.1 million for a final year. We're going to take on his contract. It's only for the last year, and he is pretty decent depth if there are an amount of injuries. So we are going to do this deal. Sounds good. But that is going to be it for this episode of Rangers Franchise. Just going to play around here with Josh Hamilton for a little bit and see what position would fit him best in the outfield. That's going to be it for this episode. Join me next time for Rangers Franchise, the opening day episode. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like. But until next time, thank you all for watching.